Welcome back to the channel. This is Mild Yews, my Ironman account, and if you watched my first video on this account, I listed some goals that I had for the future of the account, and in the last week I made a lot of progress towards some of the lower goals, so the rest of this video is going to go over some of those achievements I made in the last week. Here's the difference in my stats in the last week. Unfortunately, I wasn't recording for a lot of these achievements, but I did manage to get 65 rune crafting at Guardians of the Rift. This stocked me up on some cosmic runes so I could alch some of the battle staves that I had sitting in my bank. Then I also knocked out 70 prayer in the wilderness. This allowed me to unlock piety through King's Ransom, as well as finish the Mauritania Hard Diary. These are both huge for Ironman accounts, especially Mauritania Hard Diary, because this is where you can go to get all of those helpful Barrows items, as well as stock up on runes such as Death and Blood runes. We also knocked out all of the quests that unlock Varlamore. We also got 70 thieving from wealthy citizens just to try out the new method, and I really enjoyed the AFK parts to it, and I think I was averaging around 90k XP per hour, and I got 300 to 400 of the keys, which you can use to rob houses in Varlamore, which looks like something I'll be interested in the future. So as a returning Ironman, there were two things I kept hearing everybody talk about, whether it was in my clan chat or on YouTube, and that was the zombie axe and the warp scepter, which are two weapons that upgrade my current weapons. So the zombie axe is a direct upgrade to my dragon scimitar, and the warp scepter is a direct upgrade to my Iban staff. So naturally, that was the first thing I decided to go for after leveling up some of my skills. However, for the zombie axe, you need 70 smithing to fix it once you get it. So I bought mithril claws from Jatizo, I believe, and then steel items from other shops, and then I took these to Giant's Foundry, and I was getting over 100,000 XP per hour and making my money back, so it was perfect. I believe I got from level 50 to 70 in just a few hours. So after finishing 70 smithing, I had to complete the Defender of Varrock quest so I could start killing the zombies for the chance at the axe. And as I started to kill the armored zombies, my Ironman luck finally was shining through. I managed to pull the axe in only 49 KC. The zombie axe is a 1 in 800 drop, so I was super happy to see it this early. I was fully expecting to sit here for hours. And to repair the axe, you just take it to any anvil with a hammer and 70 smithing, and you can repair it yourself. And when you compare the zombie axe to the dragon scimitar, you can see that it has much higher crush and slash attack bonuses than the dragon scimitar, and has over 40 strength bonus on the dragon scimitar. The only thing that you're losing with the zombie axe is 1 speed, but I think it greatly makes up for it in the strength. This melee upgrade will be perfect for me while training Slayer until I get my whip. So now that the zombie axe was out of the way, I now had a stronger weapon to kill terror birds faster for the warp scepter. And like I said before, the warp scepter is a direct upgrade to my Iban staff, and it has its own charges so I can use it while on other spellbooks. And the runes that it uses are much cheaper than an Iban staff in my opinion. It doesn't use death runes, so I can save my death runes for my tridents later on, or if I want to use them on bursting tasks. So the warp terrorbirds and the warp tortoises both have a 1 in 320 drop rate of the warp scepter, but the terrorbirds are much weaker, and if you want to see a guide on how I did this, you can watch one of my other videos. So I spent a few hours here killing them with melee, and tried to use as little prayer as possible because I'd like to save my prayer pots for the future. And fortunately, I got it exactly on drop rate. So I got my warp scepter on 320 KC, and along with the warp scepter, I got some good alchs and some other resources, so it was a win-win. After finishing my goals of getting the warp scepter and the zombie axe, I was kind of lost for a second, and the first thing that came to mind was my construction goals. I realized that I had enough teak logs and I had enough GP on hand to get to 73 construction. 73 construction would allow me to build a rejuvenation pool, which restores my prayer, special attack, and run energy. I could also make some upgrades in my costume room to store more things from my bank. I went about this by doing mahogany homes, and this was the first time I've ever done it, and the XP rates were surprisingly pretty great, and I got the plank sack in just a few hours, so it wasn't really too bad after that. After getting 73 construction and having the ability to make these upgrades in my house, I then had to go back and get 73 herblore, which I was very close to anyways. I had 71, almost 72 herblore, and I had just the right amount of herbs and resources in my bank to get to 73. Once I was at 73, I could boost with a botanical pie to make stamina potions, and this was the last thing I needed to upgrade my pool. Unfortunately, I started making these stamina potions as 4 doses, and I didn't realize at the time that I could use my Amulet of Chemistry still. I just had to decant all of them to 3-dose potions before I did it. So halfway through making all these potions, I did stop, decanted all my potions, and made them into 3 doses instead. This probably only saved me about 10 doses though in the long run, so it isn't anything crazy. And now I actually have over 500 stamina potions in the bank, which will help me a ton when going for my quest cape. So after setting up my POH to my liking, I was actually chatting with a friend and we were talking about how scurrius might be a good way to level up our combat stats. So if you didn't know, scurrius actually offers like 10 or 20% more XP than usual, so when you're killing him, you get really good XP rates. And scurrius also drops something called a scurrius spine, which you can use to create weapons that are almost best in slot when killing him. So now with my new POH setup, I headed there and I tried out some kills with melee. And as you can see from the video, I got my first spine at KC number 13. Out of all 3 styles, I wanted to level up my magic so that I could put a Barrows teleport in my POH, so I made the bone staff. Making this staff required the scurrius spine, 1000 chaos runes, and a battle staff, as well as a chisel in your inventory. So I switched into mage gear and I went back to scurrius to try out the bone staff, and I was getting about 80,000 XP per hour, which is awesome considering this staff only uses 1 chaos rune per cast, and the boss is really easy. I got my next spine at KC number 48, and I knew immediately that I wanted to try out the melee method now. So I bought a rune mace, and I took this rune mace and the spine to an anvil, and I combined them to create the bone mace. Now compared to my magic setup, I could really tell a difference with this melee method. The bone mace was going crazy. I think I was averaging about 110,000 XP per hour, which I don't think is possible for me anywhere else in the game. So it was a really fun method. Really easy boss though. I don't know if I could camp there forever for the pet chance, but maybe in the future I'll try it. So after finishing at Scurrius and I put the Barrows teleport in my POH, I decided to go back to Barrows. Now with the Mauritania Hard Diary done, I would be getting a lot more runes, so it felt more worth it to chase after those pieces that I needed. So I really wanted an Aram's robe top, and then some Carol's pieces if I could get my hands on it. Those were my main goals. I started this grind at around 150 KC. At KC 158, we saw our first drop, which was a Guthan's War Spear, which we take. And then about 10 KC later, we saw another drop, which was an Aram's robe skirt, which unfortunately is one of the Aram's pieces I already have, which is okay because as long as I'm getting drops, then I'm happy at Barrows. And then 30 to 40 kills later is when we saw our next drop, which was a Carol's leather skirt, which is awesome because it's a super useful Carol's piece. So by KC 190, you can see in my log that I'm only missing 1 Torag's piece to complete the set, which is looking pretty nice. So I continued doing some Barrows, and not very long after, I got another Guthan's piece, which was a Guthan's chain skirt. So at this point, I've gotten a Guthan's chain skirt and a Guthan's war spear, and I already have the Guthan's plate body, so right there with Torag's, I'm only 1 away from completing the set. And on KC number 232, I decided to emote to try to get something better. Nothing happened, but something crazy happened about 10 KC later. I pulled another Guthan's piece, this time the Guthan's helmet. And if you remember back to like 5 seconds ago, that was the last piece I needed to complete the set. So somehow I've gotten 3 unique Guthan's pieces in 1 day. And I know it's not 2013. We're not AFKing with Guthan's for 6 hours straight at fucking bandits in the desert, but I'll take this because it will help me when I'm doing Slayer or doing DKs or if I can find another weird use for it. And a set is a set because that completes an elite diary task, which can cause a lot of Ironmen some trouble. And within only 10 more KC, we got another duplicate war spear and chain skirt. And less than 10 KC after that, we got a double chest. This isn't our first double chest, but it's our first double chest within these 150 kills. And within this chest, we got a duplicate Carol's skirt, but we also got unique legs from Darox. Unfortunately, in the last 35 kills, we didn't get anything super useful. We got 2 more duplicates, 2 terrible duplicates actually, duplicate Torag's legs and hammers. But this is what the collection log looks like at 300 KC, and I'll definitely be back to get those Aram's and Carol's pieces, but it's clear that these last 150 KC were meant for Guthan's, so I'm not going to complain about that. Thanks for watching the video. I plan on making more videos like this in the future, so if you enjoyed it, leave a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and I'll see you later.